respective Zoom screens, eyes narrowed, nostrils flared, voices escalating ever so slightly with each retort. Avi was a software technician, a single dad with two rambunctious school-aged children. Sarah, a professor with three tween daughters of her own. Avi and Sarah spoke animatedly about their respective school districts' decisions around mask mandates and return to in-person instruction in the classroom. Referring to the ping-pong inconsistencies of public health recommendations over the last year, Avi highlighted just how much COVID scientists had gotten wrong, stressing that there seemed to be no consensus about the right approach. My kids need to go back, he stated. They're struggling. They need normalcy in their lives. Sarah, an educator herself, couldn't believe what she was hearing. It really irks me when people don't respect science. Public health officials may not know everything about the virus, but they're the best we have. We can't afford to put teachers and kids in harm's way, she exclaimed. Pause, a disembodied voice cut in. My screen transformed as Avi and Sarah's faces were replaced with 16 smaller ones contained in their own Zoom squares before me. Who can jump in and tell me what's most important to Avi and Sarah? This past spring, I participated in a professional development training through an organization called Resetting the Table, a nonprofit that equips Jewish leaders and communities with the tools they need to build a culture of trust, learning, and collaboration in an increasingly polarized and siloed world. Avi and Sarah's terse exchange was one of many simulations we participated in throughout our 6-week training. Each simulation provided an opportunity for us to identify roadblocks to effective communication and, perhaps more importantly, an opportunity to witness each other's humanity. Through this training, I learned that engaging in meaningful dialogue with someone who disagrees with you, validating you have heard what they have to say and why, does not mean we have to agree, endorse, or condone their beliefs. By coming to the table, though, by showing up with a sense of curiosity, wonder, and openness, we can participate in a very important and sacred act, the sacred act of seeing. Recently, Jewish communities around the world celebrated Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year and the birthday of the world. The traditional Rosh Hashanah Torah reading serves as a tutorial for this spiritual practice, guiding us toward the type of seeing that Resetting the Table strives to cultivate. In one of the most challenging stories of the Bible, in my opinion, Hagar and Ishmael are forced to embark on a harrowing journey in the wilderness. Mother and son forced to wander after they are banished by their home by Sarah. Out of water and fearing for her young son's life, Hagar sits down and cries. And in her moment of despair, a messenger of the divine appears and asks, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heeded the cry of the boy where he is." We read that then God opened Hagar's eyes and she saw a well of water. This is not the first time we read of Hagar's plight in the wilderness. Just 5 chapters before, we read that when Hagar conceived Ishmael, Sarah, still barren, jealously mistreats her maidservant and Hagar runs away in fear. The divine finds Hagar in the wilderness by a spring of water and asks her where she has come from and where she is going. Sensing a caring presence, Hagar calls God El Roi, the God who sees me. And then, in the very next breath, she says, "I was able to see after I was seen." Hagar's words remind me of another truth teller who speaks of the act of seeing as something that is sacred. Sikh faith leader, activist, and journalist Valerie Kaur reminds us in her 2020 book, See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love, that once people stop wondering about others, once they no longer see others as a part of them, they disable their instinct for empathy. What more could we see if we took the time to view each other with a sense of wonder? To look at each other through the loving eyes of the divine, and we saw what someone values, we saw who they love, we saw why they are troubled. Approaching others from a sense of wonder might enable us to do just as Kaur preaches, to see no stranger, but instead to look at others and say, you are a part of me I do not yet know. The days of awe, the 10 days from Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur that people in my tradition just completed, 10 days of deep introspection, reflection, and connection, are also called Yamim Noraim in Hebrew. Boston-based rabbi Rachel Zahnd highlights that the letters that spell out Norah, Ah, Yod Resh Aleph Hey, can also spell Yirah, vision. This connection becomes all the more tangible when we understand that Hagar was only able to experience awe and wonder, to see the well, only after she herself was seen. It's possible that the well was there the entire time, for the story does not say God created a well, only that Hagar's eyes were opened and she saw what was right in front of her. El Roi. I believe we are created in the image of the divine who sees, created with the power to help each other feel seen. We do it when we welcome each other to our dinner tables. We help each other feel seen when friends and family, colleagues and neighbors share stories and listen in return, question and answer one another, celebrate and mourn together. The angel's question, what troubles you, coupled with the action of seeing and responding, is the foundation of the JUUF partnership with Congregation Sukkot Shalom to feed your hungry neighbors through the rapidly growing food pantry. And there is always more seeing to be done. It requires some serious spiritual muscle building to see the humanity of those we disagree with, to not give in to our instincts to tune out, turn inward, and make judgments. Resetting the Table was founded on the premise that the breakdown of productive discourse in America is a result of people refusing to come to the metaphorical table together. That as a society, we are no longer willing to even attempt to see past the headlines and cultivate relationships that would help us learn and grow. To be clear, there are situations for each of us where it is difficult or perhaps impossible to see another perspective. For many of us, it's impossible to engage in dialogue with someone who espouses white supremacy, religious bigotry, homophobia. We all have important lines in the sand, and I'm not suggesting we compromise our deepest held beliefs, or more importantly, the humanity and dignity of those at the margins of our societies, for the sake of holding hands and making some surface level peace. What I am suggesting is that resetting the table has taught me that the dichotomy we are often taught about tzedek, the pursuit of justice, and shalom, the pursuit of peace, is a false one. Approaching conversations with a sense of openness and an intent to learn where someone is coming from is actually an integral tenet of creating true, deeply rooted and sustaining peace. My hope for each of us is that in moments of pain and conflict, we may find ways to see the ones we love, the ones we know, and the ones we don't. Instead of turning away from them, or turn towards them, see them, be with them, so that you may be seen in return. Thank you.
And today I'd like us to send the flame with words from Reverend Scott Taylor. May we remember that we never walk out into the world alone. We stand on the shoulders of brave and generous ones who have gone before. We walk beside companions ready to catch us when we fall. We hold memories of dear ones in our hearts who keep us connected to our center. May we make this our most important work, to remember that who we are does not end at the edges of our own skin. Amen, blessed be. And if you would like to join in a closing circle, and we have our closing song, and I'm going to mute to sing it.
Either hold hand, we do hand motions, so you can follow along. Together we share, and from this seed, from you, see, to you, Father, together we share, and from this seed.